The skills have finally been officially released for the new infantry commanders, so today I'm going to give you my first impressions, reviewing their kits in depth and talking about the very best pairings. Also, it looks like we've got a patch coming that might bring formations a lot sooner than I thought, so let's get talking about it. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I make videos about news and information drops for Rise of Kingdoms as soon as it lands. And I've also got timestamps in this video, so you can jump to whatever portion you're most interested in. So smash the like button, subscribe, and let's start with Tarek ibn Ziyad. Now, I actually talked to a linguist to see how this name is pronounced. A historian might say it's pronounced differently, but I believe it is actually Tarek ibn Ziyad, and this is the rally commander. It's from the mightiest governor. So the question you should be asking yourself is, do I really need this commander? And I'll spoil this for you. I think for most people, you don't need Tarek ibn Ziyad. But let's review his kit and talk about why I don't think most people should work on Tarek, but I do think he will be a good rally. So the active skill is going to do 2,500 damage factor. Now that is when this commander is expertise, by the way. The expertise is enhancing this skill. And when he is surrounded, you do an extra 300 damage factor times the number of things you're surrounded by, and that caps at another 900 damage factor. The punish on swarming this rally is going to be insane. I really like this. And the punish, by the way, is dealt to the enemy's garrison, which is going to inflict more dead troops. This is a nasty rally. And to top that off, even if you try to counter rally Tarek ibn Ziyad, it is going to suck because now he's going to get this surround bonus, dealing more damage, killing more of your troops in the garrison. So I think the design of this is actually pretty sneaky. I like what they're doing. And let's get a look at the rest of the skills. Unfortunately, he doesn't have much tankiness at all. So this is, actually, I think this is all upside. But for open fielding, I don't think that's great. So infantry units led by this commander gain 40% increased attack. They deal 10% more damage to cavalry, and infantry gain 10% more march speed outside of alliance territory. I like that infantry are getting march speed. I love the elegance of the design of making this just outside of alliance territory, because this commander is obviously going to be used for rallying stuff. You're probably rallying something outside of your territory, so it's enhancing the rally's ability to get to where it's going, and it's relevant in the field. But it again, is a signal that this is not a commander I think everybody needs for just general open fielding. I also think this is really significant. The damage versus cav is boosted by 10%. Now, why would I say that's so significant? If we look at other commanders we've gotten, it only gets a boost of 5%. So I think we see a little bit of escalation here, a little bit of creep in the counter typing of the infantry and the cavalry and the archers. Again, I think this is a commander. Really love what I'm seeing here for rallying. I want lots of damage. I want to crank through whatever garrison you've got, okay, so that you can't reinforce fast enough. Now, next skill, absolutely amazing. Again, I love the balance on this. When attacking cities or strongholds, note that you don't have to have a rally. Commanders like Nebu only give you their benefit for the sort of conquering benefit when you are rallying. But this, it will work for a swarm. When you attack a city or a stronghold, infantry units gain 30% defense. Love to see it. Okay, so I mentioned they don't have any tankiness. Here's where it comes from. Yet another signal. I don't think this is an open field commander. I'm not saying he'd be bad. I probably will use him, but I just don't think most people should go for him. And each normal attack has a 30% chance to reduce the target's attack by 30% for 3 seconds. This effect can trigger once every 8 seconds. Now, there is a discrepancy here in the skill description. This came from the official Rise of Kingdoms YouTube channel, where I took this picture. So this came from a test server. We'll see how the wording is when it's released globally. But I will point out that it says reduce the attack. Here it says reduce the normal attack damage. If we're reducing the normal attack damage, if this is correct, this is way better than attack, in my opinion. Now, attack reduces skill damage. Okay, I like that. But if you can reduce the normal attack of the garrison, like, dude, this is so helpful when you're swarming a garrison. Counterattack is how the swarmers are getting wrecked. Anything you can do to reduce their counterattack is actually wicked. And a long time ago, I hypothesized, okay, it was a long time ago, that Moctezuma might be important for swarming garrisons. And we did see that in Ark of Osiris. I think it was League or the Grand Prix. Somebody was running around with Moctezuma. Like, it does happen in some of the, I think, top tier play as like a niche thing if you really know what you're doing. But If this is actually a 30% normal attack reduction periodically, I think that's absolutely wicked. I think it's more likely to be attack. Both of those are great reduction effects. This skill represents a 60% swing, 30% defense for you, and then the 30% reduction for them periodically. Okay, love to see this. Next skill. Troops led by this commander deal 15% more damage. Wow. And have a 10% chance to reduce the target's rage by 80 for 3 seconds. Wow. This effect can trigger once every 8 seconds. Let's walk through how this works very briefly. As a reminder, the most rage you can get in any one turn is 220. That knowledge was made popular by Wick Gaming. Now, the way rage reductions work is that you first gain all the rage you would gain. They say, what would that number be? Okay, so 220 is the most you could get. Then they do all reductions. So if you would have got 300, 600 rage in one turn, they reduce it to 220 because that's the cap. Then they do these reductions. So you lose another 80. So the most you could get with this triggering is 140 rage in a turn. Or if you were only getting like 100 rage or 120, which is more normal without some other thing giving you lots of rage, which will be the case for most garrisons, I mean, you're reducing them to a crawl for their rage gain. I mean, we're talking like 20 or 40 rage per turn when this is triggered, because you're looking at the 120 minus the 80, right? So 40 rage in a turn. You really halt the garrison's rage gain. And I think this would be absolutely wicked if there's a lot of these swarming a garrison, because now you're looking at a world in which you can dramatically halt the sort of speed with which a garrison can fire off its active skills. So do I think Tariq will be good in the open field? Yes. Do I think most people need to invest in him? I don't think so. If you're looking at pairs for this commander and where do I think he'll be good, I think that the challenge with rallies today is that they're a little bit too tanky. Pakal and Herald somehow is just too tanky. I would hope that you could potentially pair Pakal, use with Tariq, and then together they've got enough punch, but enough anti-swarm that you really can't swarm them, and you can do lots of damage. I think that could be really good. Obviously, there will be other commander combos that we'll have to test out. Commanders like CJ and Skippy and so on. You'll have to run those, and we'll have to see which one emerges. My only concern about the Pakal combo is it might be a little too tanky, a little bit too much like the Attila Nevsky, you know, like if you know your enemy is going to swarm you, you bring in the Pakal sort of a thing. So I don't know if there'll be an alternative that has lots of punch that we might run. I think that might be the case, and it's important to notice he is infantry conquering defense. I do wish he had been like skill or attack, because although I know he doesn't have any defensive stuff in his kit, I think if he had had the attack tree, it would have been more likely we could pair with Pakal and get even better outcomes. I do think, by the way, the downside of pairing with commanders like Pakal that don't do lots of damage is that you're not really getting a lot of benefit from boosting the damage. Now, if you were to run him in the open field, what sort of commander would be good? I think a commander like Skippy would be wicked. Skippy's got enough defensive stats and is going to benefit from 15% increased damage because he's got a damage over time. He's got big AoE. Like, that's the sort of combo you're looking for, where you want to pair with a commander that's got a lot of tanky stats already and has some decent to high skill damage. The other thing you could do that I think would be kind of interesting would be to, if for the open field only, you take Tariq and you pair with a commander like Trajan. Now, why would I say Trajan will be cool? Well, again, if you look at the active skill, okay? And I already mentioned how the expertise skill is enhancing the active skill. Trajan is so tanky that if you surround him, you're actually going to live long enough to be doing 3,400 damage factor to the target for a while. Trajan gets so tanky that the combination of Trajan's tankiness with extreme punch makes that march an actual threat in the open field. Also, you got some march speed on here to offset how slow infantry are, just a little bit. It's only when you're outside territory, so I think this would actually run a little bit slow in the open field, but I actually think that combo could be very strong. I think a commander like Charles Martel, it's not going to be meta, but suddenly when you look at the fact that he has no tankiness over here, none, and you're going to boost his all damage, by the way, on Martel's active skill. Give yourself a shield. Martel's very tanky. He's got counterattack, and then you're going to hit him with this huge damage factor? Yeah, I think that's going to work, folks. I think that's going to work really well. So I think there's going to be a lot of combos that will be cool to explore. But again, no AoE damage, no big debuffs, not a lot of march speed, no major buffs. I think his power level is high enough to use in the open field, but I just want to emphasize, I know a lot of people are thinking, do I need to run this commander in the open field? And I think the answer is no. Not if you're not a rally leader. I think you just need to focus on the other commander, and that is Sargon. Let's get a look at him now. I really have mixed feelings about Sargon, because on the one hand, his active skill, it makes me a little sad, and I'll explain that. But the rest of his kit is going to make him a snap include. Sargon the Great will be a must-use commander. He is extremely strong if you are bringing multiple marches to the field, specifically 5 or more. He is a snap include. Now, the reason I say I'm disappointed by this wheel commander's active skill is that it is not a damaged over time effect, and it's a lot like Freddy. Freddy buffs himself. That's Frederick the First. Okay, Sargon is going to buff himself, and for the next 5 seconds, you're going to do 500 damage factor to whatever you hit. 500 damage factor, 500 damage factor, 500 damage factor, 500 damage factor, 500 damage factor. And I said that out loud because that took a long time. And the problem is that open field combat is very fast paced. Things walk away from you. You want damage to boom, trigger, and then have happened. Because if you watch how I open field fight, I do not stick to a target for very long. I hit one thing, I hit something else, I hit something else, focusing on moving opportunistically to whatever is soft and close to me, okay? But often, an enemy will just peace out before you get to deal the full damage to them. Now, this skill tries to offset that fact by doing more raw damage. 2,500 damage factor is a lot of total damage factor. But again, the problem is that this is over time. And even Frederick the First does 800 damage factor over 3 seconds. So that's 2,400 total damage factor. So overall, he's only doing 100 more damage factor than Frederick the First, which is why you can see that I am not all that excited about his active skill. So why am I saying that he is a must include? I think is pretty obvious once you look at his second skill. This second skill is insane. He's the Tamaris of infantry. And for that reason, he's a must-use commander. Let me explain. Infantry units led by this commander deal 10% or get 10% increased attack. Fine. 20% increased health. Love to see that. When attacking, this commander's troop has a 100% chance to inflict a stack of the odd effect on the target troop, which increases the skill damage taken by the target by 3% for 10 seconds, and there's a maximum of 10 stacks. That's 30% skill damage taken by the target, and all of a sudden you can see why I think this commander is going to be an absolute snap include in every lineup, at least when you're bringing lots of marches to the open field. So I'm very happy with this skill. And let's get a look at the rest of his kit to see how it balances out. Because again, I don't love what's happening on the active skill. No debuff, okay? The debuff comes right over here. And no AoE, all right? So infantry units led by this commander gain 15% march speed. Love to see it. This commander desperately needs march speed to stay connected with targets and to hope they don't run away. They also deal 10% more damage when attacking troops. Okay, so they're really angling this commander to be open field. And normal attacks have a 10% chance to increase all damage dealt by this commander's troop by 30%. Oh my goodness. So this is a commander you want to pair with someone who does lots of damage, okay? Think like Guan Yu. Guan Yu's glass cannon, big damage. You want that 30% damage boost, and then boom, you're just hitting them so hard. And we're not even done, because you also get 10% defense. So in total, we got 20% health. We got 10% defense. You could pair that with Guan. It's a little squish, but you could do that. Now, when a target troop has received 10 stacks of the odd effect, all stacks will be removed, and the target troop will be dealt 1,000 damage factor. So, okay, you're stacking up the skill damage taken, and then once you reach 10 stacks of that odd effect, boom, another 1,000 damage factor. Okay. And you get a shield, 300 shield factor. That lasts for 5 seconds. Wow. So you can see why this would work with Guan. You're getting shields. Guan does more skill damage when you get shields. I'm not saying this is a rally combo. Guan, Sargon is not a rally combo. Don't do it. I mean, it might be okay, but probably don't do it. Probably don't do it. Okay, we're going to test it. But I think this is going to be a great open field commander. The shield factor here, by the way, it's not really here to do lots of protection. It's here to trigger when shielded effects. And let's talk about that a little more. Here is one of those when shielded effects. Reduces the skill damage taken of this commander's troops by 15%. That's just happening all the time, by the way. But when your troop is hit with a normal attack, it has a 50% chance to inflict 2 stacks of odd on the target enemy. So not only are you inflicting stacks on whatever you're hitting, but also you have a chance to inflict odd on whatever's hitting you, which means I guess when a bunch of things are hitting you, like all those things are increasing the skill damage they take. Like, is this effectively turning into like a revenge skill damage taken debuff? Like, it's almost like AoE skill damage taken debuff, sort of, but they have to be hitting you. Anyways, this is strong, man. And if this skill is triggered when the commander gains a shield, it will inflict another stack of odd. So this is a commander you probably want to pair with someone who's getting shields anyways, because when you gained a shield, if this effect triggers when something's hitting you, they're going to get more stacks of odd. Oh my God. When a target has received 10 stacks of odd, all stacks will be removed, and the target troop will be dealt 1,000 damage factor. It doesn't say there's a limit to how often that happens, chat. Hello? It doesn't say a limit. Do you see a limit? It says, in addition, there'll be a shield, and that shield lasts for 5 seconds, but it doesn't say how frequently you can have this trigger. I don't know if there's an internal cooldown or not. If there's not, this commander's gangbuster. This is the commander you're looking for, folks. This is the open field commander you're looking for. Now, when we get a closer look at what this commander is doing and what Tarek ibn Ziyad is doing, I think it's entirely possible that these two are meant to be paired together, and their kits have been designed so that one is sort of more optimal for open field, the other is more optimal for rally, but together they're really, really good. And let me just walk through that really quickly, because you see, if we look at Sargon's skills, specifically in the lens of could you pair with Tarek ibn Ziyad, who we know could be the primary, he's going to gain 30% defense when he's hitting a stronghold. We know that he's got the defense tree, which is really tanky. Could this commander work? And we go look, we'll start with the active skill. And we would say, yes, 2,500 damage factor in total when you're hitting a garrison. It's not moving, is insane. So yes, that's very good. The next skill, let's read very closely. It says, infantry gain 10% attack, 20% health. That works when attacking. It doesn't say when attacking troops. It just says when attacking. This commander's troop has a 100% chance to inflict a stack of odd on the target troop. So unless they forgot a word here, then this looks really good for hitting a garrison. Okay, I like what I see. Okay, and then if we look at the next thing, infantry units led by this commander gain 15% march speed. Fine, not relevant for a rally. They also deal 10% more damage when attacking troops. Okay, they gave this a little bit of punch for attacking troops, but if this is the only thing that's for attacking troops and doesn't work on a stronghold, fine. That's fine. Normal attacks have a 10% chance to increase all damage dealt. Well, yeah, Tarek ibn Ziyad does so much damage. So yes, this is amazing. This is so good. And then next skill, increases defense when you're in the field. When you're rallying, you're in the field. And when a target troop has received 10 stacks of odd, all stacks are removed and you do damage factor. That's fine. You get a shield. That's good. All of this works, man. Almost all of his kit is going to work. When their troop is hit with a normal attack, well, yeah, you'll get normal attack by the garrison. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is going to work. I think, and I said this a long time ago, I predicted this. I said the developers would release 2 new infantry commanders, and I said they would work together. And I said it was likely the 2 of them would work in a rally combo together. That would be the new rally combo. Because I don't think that Skippy is really there for a rally. I don't think that Pakal, he's just too tanky, man. He's too much anti-swarm. He plays a role, but you don't want to use that all the time. You want the raw damage that makes them freaking bend the knee, right? Also, what the heck is going on here with all these freaking Guans in this picture? Why on the test server do they have 4 Guans? Hello? Did anyone else notice that before me? Or did I just notice that now? Anyways, these pictures were from, again, the official Rise of Kingdoms video on the official Rise of Kingdoms channel, which they had in a test server. But that is a lot of Guan Yu. That's more Guan Yus than I get in my Golden Kingdom lineup, okay? So I think Sargon's going to be amazing. I think he is going to work with a lot of commanders. So let's talk about open field combos, okay? Because that's probably what you're here for anyways. Is he going to work with actually just about any open field commander? The answer is yes. The thing that you really want with Sargon is march speed. Nothing about his kit is like, oh man, you really want this or you really want that. I guess I will say that because he has a big damage boost over here, that you're going to want to pair him with someone who ideally does high damage. So, you know, ideally, I think Guan Yu would be amazing. I think that would go very well. I think Alexander the Great would be a really good choice. That gives you more shielding triggers, by the way, which hopefully works with the expertise skill, which means you're inflicting more stacks of odd. You also get a lot of march speed, which means you're more likely to stay connected with your enemy, which will allow you to actually enjoy the benefit of the active skill, making it sort of require you to stay in contact with your enemy. So you got to get that. Also, I think Skippy would be really good. Skippy does a lot of damage, okay? He does shielding, big win. I think that you could pair with, honestly, like a lot of infantry commanders and be really happy. I think Harold would be okay, but maybe less exciting than some of the other pairs. It's a little squishy. Okay, it's a little squishy. There's not actually a ton of synergy there. I think you could get a look at CJ. Reducing skill damage taken is always in style. Again, I think the sweet spot here is going to be commanders that also have high damage dealt themselves so that you can fully leverage this triggered 30% damage bonus. Dang. Okay. Yeah, I am going to run the most wicked rallies in this KVK. Infantry are back, baby. And they're back with, I think, a freaking bang. So do I think that most players should invest in Sargon? Again, the answer is a big time yes. Do I think that most players should invest in Tariq? And I think the answer is actually no. I think that if you invest in Tariq, then you should use him in the open field because you have him. Now, on the topic of Sargon the Great, could you use him in an unexpertise state? And I think the answer is yes. But if we look at his skills, I think it's very obvious that you want to get the probability up to 100% for triggering the odd debuff. So at a minimum, you're looking at 5-5-1-1 to get to viability. From there, would you want to try to max the third skill? I think march speed is really critical for this commander. So I would say yes. 5-5-5-1 will be really good. You also land on 10% more damage dealt when attacking troops. You also get the chance to boost your all damage by 30%. That is freaking hot. Love it. The last skill, I think, is the one that you would pass on. It's not that you don't want it. It's that it's not as important. So just at the base level, you still get 2% defense. You still get 500 damage factor instead of 1,000. That's halfway there. And you still get the 150 shield factor instead of 300. I mean, if you're going to pick one skill, I think this is the one. This is the one that you leave at 1 point, and that's easier to do anyways. Save your skill resets for something else. Love it. Now, this, by the way, was not the only stuff the developers revealed to us in their videos today. My impression from watching the official Rise of Kingdoms channel video is that formations might be arriving everywhere tomorrow. Now, they had said it would be like 2 months down the road, so I'm a little confused if like everywhere will now get their state forum and everyone will be working on formations, or if this Wall of Arrows event gives you just the commanders and the armaments, and they're only going to give us this and not formations like everywhere. It was a little unclear to me from watching that video. That could just be on me. Leave a comment down below with what your impressions were. But if we get the formation system tomorrow, you're going to want to know how that works. I'll have a card up in the top with all the details. But this is an event where they are going to give you commanders, give you armaments, and you're going to use formations, and you're going to be defending supply points with those armies that you have been given, and with the formations and armaments you have been given, and the commanders you've been given. So it looks like a cool event. Protect the supplies. Their supply points, troops run in. Your troops physically block enemy troops. You can also heal your troops by running them back into the supply stations. So it should be a cool way to give you exposure to the event. You get stars on this, and by the way, there are a series of things that you'll unlock by virtue of getting lots of stars on 6 different passes that you ultimately need to go and defend. But they did show that these are the commanders that you're ultimately going to be using. You may recognize right over here, I believe that's Wafura, maybe? That's from the heroic anthem power-up version of KVK where they introduced ranged commanders. Now, I said a long time ago the developers should really be testing some of their ideas in formats of KVK that are not permanent. And it seems like they've really been doing that because, dude, I mean, I think we could be seeing the genesis of ranged commanders, the engineering talent tree, and all that stuff coming to the game probably middle of next year. And if you're not familiar with all that, I'll give you a video. Card will be up in the top for now if you want to go check that out right away. To go and look and more at the engineering talent tree. We did get one other look here. You can see right over here how this goes, where you're defending, and you can see Wafura. It was Wafura. They are now in the ranged formation, and they can do ranged attacks. You can see that that range is really quite large. I think they're trying to showcase, like, look, if you're behind the wall and you can shoot over the wall at the enemies, GG, you get them. And then you put something tanky, right, blocking those little passes. GG, got them, right? So I think that's what this event is designed to teach you. Also, you can see up top that there's 3 waves. So you'll have to fight your way through 3 waves, at least in this particular battle. The other thing that they showed us was the Autarch's Glory. This is a new Season of Conquest KVK reward. You get it if you are taking the ziggurat with your alliance, and you also, as a kingdom, have maintained your RCF. Nobody has taken your ruined Crusader fortress. Now, there are rewards you can get from this shop. They are inscriptions. Inscriptions are what you put on top of an armament to customize it, which I'm kind of on board for, like, customized effects, okay? I like customized effects. Now, they went on to explain that the Autarch's Glory is something that you gain when, again, you hold the zig, and you can then distribute it to other alliances in your kingdom. This piece of the puzzle is a little unclear to me. But if you watch my video on formations, then you know that that chest you see on the screen there is a legendary armament crate. Okay? And they show us here these Autarch rewards. So this is the settlement end of KVK occupation reward. And there's a number 1, number 2, and it says here are the rules. The end of the Lost Kingdom event, if an Autarch alliance is occupying the Great Zig and its Crusader fort is not occupied by another camp, all members holding the Autarch's testimony will be given an Autarch reward. Governors who have received an Autarch reward cannot receive a Vindicator reward. So it looks like there's 2 different levels of rewards here. After the Lost Kingdom event has been settled, Autarch and Vindicator rewards will be sent via in-game mail. The Inscription Shop, Autarch Tavern, and Vindicator Tavern events will also be open for a limited time, where you can participate if you're eligible. All event eligibility is for this instance of the Lost Kingdom only. Okay, so you got to do it in, like, probably the 3 days where KVK is ending, and they're lost at the end of the event. Now, they went to show some of these additional conquest rewards, but what I found really interesting, and they showed some honor rewards here, but when they flashed back on this shop, there is a limited and a non-limited reward. And the language here feels a little weird to me. I think what they're trying to say, based on their explanation, is one of these is limited to people who can claim an Autarch reward, and the other is not limited to people who can claim an Autarch reward. Anyone can get these, but you can still only get 1 total thing per season. They may as well have just given you a separate Autarch coin. That would be really easy. But the reason they didn't give you an Autarch coin is that it uses one of your conquest coins to get one of these items. So let me run this down from the top, okay? If you get an Autarch's testimony, you can buy one of the limited items from this shop using a conquest coin. If you did not get the Autarch's reward at the end of the KVK or the Autarch's testimony, then you can get 1 non-limited item from the shop. But either way, it's all freaking limited because you can only get 1. Okay, so that's why the language is, like, in my head, it took me a minute to sort out what's going on here. But I think this is a fine system. I'm okay with this. I like that this happens at the end of KVK. It's like an additional reward. At the end of KVK, you get 3 days to decide. I'm fine with all of that. And I think these are now chase items. I think this, to me, signals there is one more reason that you want to queue up for KVK as fast as you possibly can to get more iconic crystals, to get more KVK rewards in general, and also to get these right over here. So if you found this video helpful, do me that huge favor of throwing a like on here and subscribing to the channel. It actually does support me tremendously every time you push like on a video. And also subscribe. As I mentioned earlier, you're not going to want to miss when I drop news and information. But in case you did miss several very important videos that I did recently, the formation system, which we may be getting very soon, I'll have a video card in the end screen in just a second that will tell you everything you need to know. I also will be live streaming if the formation systems are actually fully live everywhere. And I'm live streaming tomorrow night anyways, because I'm entering KVK.